All right, meanwhile, Democrats and some Republicans are criticizing the president after his summit with Vladimir Putin. Face the Nation moderator Margaret Brennan has a reaction.
What the president said today is not accurate. The intelligence community has assembled probably an unparalleled amount of evidence.
President Trump's acceptance of Vladimir Putin's denials did not sit well with many in his own party. Senator John McCain said it was one of the most disgraceful performances by an American president in memory. Senator Lindsey Graham said Putin would view it as a sign of weakness. House Speaker Paul Ryan said the president must appreciate that Russia is not our ally. Trump ally Newt Gingrich called it the most serious mistake of his presidency. While the president said he privately raised the issue, his refusal to publicly confront Putin and not back up the U.S. intelligence community, led by Trump appointee Dan Coats, drew a sharp rebuke from Bob Corker.
The president's comments made us look as a nation more like a pushover, and I was disappointed in that.
Democrat Mark Warner is helping to lead the Senate Intelligence Committee investigation into Russian meddling.
If Mr. Trump wouldn't stand with American and Western institutions and stand with his own intelligence community assessment in public, who knows what he might have agreed to in private.
While Republican Congressman Trey Gowdy helped lead the House investigation, issued this statement saying Russia is not our friend. Russia attempted to undermine the fundamentals of our democracy. The U.S. intelligence community is now warning that Russia is meddling in the 2018 congressional races. But Mr. Trump seemed dismissive of that warning, and in his CBS News interview echoed similar skepticism about another red flag raised by the Director of National Intelligence.
Digital infrastructure that serves this country is literally under attack. And here we are nearly two decades later, and I'm here to say the warning lights are blinking red.
Do you agree with that?
Well, I don't know if I agree with that. I'd have to look, but I have a lot of respect for Dan, and that's where he is, and that's what he does. Again, we're working on it very hard.
CBS News Chief Congressional Correspondent Nancy Cordes joins us now from Capitol Hill. And Nancy, we heard Republican lawmakers of all stripes contradict the president on Russian meddling in the 2016 election. How likely is it that we see those words turn into concrete action?
Well, DeMarco, the question that a lot of Republicans have been asking aloud is, what exactly would that concrete action look like? Yes, a number of them disagree with the president when it comes to his assessment of Russia and its president. Yes, some of them have said that they're very disturbed and feel that the president hurt the U.S. and its standing overseas. But they're not sure what they could do at this point that would really send a message to him that would resonate. They point out, look, Congress has recently passed resolutions on trade expressing support for NATO, and it appears that that fell on deaf ears over at 1600 Pennsylvania Avenue. The president simply does and says what he wants, even if it's against the advice of Republican leaders here on Capitol Hill and his own aides, both inside the White House and writ large within his administration. So there is some talk about perhaps putting up some kind of resolution expressing that Russia is not a friend to the United States, expressing once again the unanimous belief by the intelligence agencies that Russia did interfere in the 2016 election. But the question that many Republicans are asking is, then what? Would the president suddenly get the message and suddenly get on board with the way that Republican leaders have always felt? Frankly, they doubt it.
That's a good question. What would that type of resolution accomplish?
Well, that's just it. It's non-binding. It doesn't require the president to do anything. And that's why some Democrats are saying that actually Republican leaders should go a step further and impose more sanctions on Russia. Haul the president's aides up here to Capitol Hill for a hearing, force them to testify about why it is that the president said the things that he did in that meeting with Vladimir Putin and thereafter, and what kinds of conversations they had with him to try to change his mind. Democrats believe that that would send more of a message to the president about the kind of damage that they believe he's doing to U.S. alliances. Here's how Congressman Adam Schiff of California California, who's the top Democrat on the House Intelligence Committee, described it to me when I spoke with him earlier.
I think the damage is immeasurable. He is basically telling the rest of the world that America is no longer making common cause with the democratic nations, that our alliance with NATO and Europe is over.
All right, Nancy, so with that said, what position is he putting his own party in here?
Well, it's very difficult. You know, usually Republican leaders try to avoid having to directly refute the president, criticize the president if they don't absolutely have to. House Speaker Paul Ryan has actively avoided criticizing the president on a number of issues on which we know that they disagree. And even in this situation, you have Republican leaders across the board, while they say that they disagree with the president, they weren't that harsh in criticizing him. They said, Russia is not our friend. The president needs to understand that. The president needs to believe the U.S. intelligence community. But it wasn't the type of sharp rebuke that many Democrats were looking for and that some Republicans issued. Republicans like John McCain of Arizona, who said that the president's press conference was a low point, perhaps the low point in the history of the U.S. presidency, or his Arizona colleague, Jeff Flake, who said that the president threw the country under the bus. That is the kind of language you are hearing up here on Capitol Hill from a handful of Republicans and a lot of Democrats in the wake of this truly stunning press conference.
But definitely criticism from both sides. Nancy Cordes in Washington. Nancy, thank you.